Welcome to the Pregnancy Help Podcast. I'm Christine Grimmett. I'm joined by Valerie Harkins, Director of the National Maternity Housing Coalition, and our housing specialist here at Heartbeat International. And we're talking about insurance today. So we invited Kirk Thomas from Johnson-Witkemper Insurance to help answer some of those questions and to offer his expertise on the subject. Now, listeners may have come across this podcast episode because of the Heart and Home e-newsletter that Heartbeat International publishes each month, or maybe you're a regular listener of the podcast but haven't yet subscribed to get those updates from Heart and Home. If you currently work or volunteer with a maternity home or you're interested in starting one, I would encourage you to click on the link in the show notes to subscribe to this free resource. And Valerie does a wonderful job of adding content each month that will help you and your organization stay on top of the world of pregnancy help, specifically as it relates to maternity homes. Click the link below to subscribe today. So Valerie and Kirk, thanks so much for being here. I'll turn things over to you.
Thanks, Christine. I appreciate it. So I am excited, and thank you, Kirk, for joining us today. I appreciate it. We are going to be diving into a subject that I have been getting questions about increasingly. It seems like in the last year, but especially I want to say in the last 4 or 5 months, Kirk. And the audience that we're talking to today, or those that seem to be asking me questions about this, is a pretty broad audience. It's comprised of maternity homes that have been in operation, are currently in operation, and they are maybe updating their programming and asking questions about what their insurance needs are. And then we have some that are brand new to the world of maternity housing, and they're like, insurance probably sounds logically like something I should think about, but I have absolutely no idea what to think of or what to do. So Kirk, that is what I want to dive into today with you, and I appreciate you letting us pick your brain on air. That's cool.
Well, thank you, Valerie, and hello, everyone. Again, I'm Kirk Thomas with Johnson-Witkemper, and just brief a little bit about me. I probably insure about 400 pregnancy care centers. I probably have about 50, 60 of those that have maternity homes along with the pregnancy care centers. So our mission and my mission is to protect you so you can protect life. So I'm excited to get into what the requirements are from an insurance standpoint, and also maybe talk about some of the things that you don't look at besides insurance that you need to be prepared for when you take on a maternity house.
I appreciate it. Okay, so Kirk, let's just start at the beginning. Okay, what are the different types of insurance coverages that homes need to know about and be thinking of? Is it all the same? Are there kind of different categories?
Yeah, and I know for all of you who have opened a maternity house and those that are considering opening a maternity house, the first thing you're thinking about is how do I get my clients a roof over their heads? In that case, but there are some considerations as far as insurance that you need to take a look at, and the types of insurance that I like to say that you should look at is protecting your assets, and your assets are your physical assets, your building, your property, and then also your people assets. Your employees, your volunteers, and then also your board members that sit over the top. You sit on top or sit on your board and make the decisions for your organizations. So pretty much how that is property insurance, liability insurance, directors and officers insurance. Those are the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about, or you have a maternity house that you're operating.
Okay, so that's very helpful. Now, with what you're talking about, I just want to cover, does that also apply in the same way to maternity homes that have unique property styles? So let me tell you what I mean by that. There's generally 3 categories of maternity homes, broadly speaking. Some that operate in a single family home, some that operate in a multifamily property, and some that operate in a mixed use property. More and more, Kirk, I am seeing not one maternity home really is modeled after the other. while it previously was traditionally known, a maternity home was known as, serving pregnant women in a single family home or single family property, maybe with a couple or one missionary living there and serving them. Maybe they had a baby in the home, maybe they didn't. More and more now we're seeing that maternity homes are actually opening multifamily properties. Like I've seen some actually take old hotels, convert them into dormitories for women. Some are actually building their own quadruplexes on their properties. And then increasingly on top of that, we're seeing mixed use properties where homes are actually buying large properties or large pieces of land and opening daycare centers, outreach centers, sometimes social enterprise areas, all on the same property where the residents live. So given that, whenever you're talking about protecting assets, your people and your property and things like that, how does that apply, or does it apply to these many nuanced programs that are popping up?
Well, one principle applies, to a single family type of dwelling or residence, to the multifamily, what you talked about. It's just you've got more exposure when you take on multi versus a single family dwelling. First thing, is ensuring your building. Do you own your building? Because then you're responsible for insuring that building. And the one thing that you want to make sure is that building costs have went through the roof in the last 3 years. It's what used to be $100 a square foot now is $300 a square foot. So you want to make sure that you're adequately insured if something happens to your maternity home. And this summer, I had one of my clients that had a windstorm down in the southeast part of the United States. That windstorm took branches, and it was just like they were throwing javelins into the roof and into the facility. So, making sure that building is adequately insured if you do have the loss. If you're renting the facility and you want to make sure that you're covering, because you don't have to insure the building, but you have to insure your responsibility for that building. And what that means is that if you have a loss and you're responsible for, say one of your residents is smoking a cigarette, you didn't know about it, she throws it into the trash, it smolders for a while, ends up causing a fire and burns down the facility that you're renting. Well, you don't have to worry about the building, but you have to worry about the landlord's insurance company, because the landlord's insurance company is going to subrogate against the responsible party. So you want to make sure that you're insured for that if that happens, in that case. We talked about, the security, protecting the people that you're in care of, as far as the clients, having proper procedures in place, having security cameras. And, I don't want to make your insurance poor, but I just want to tell you what credits you get from underwriters if you've got a camera, if you've got a security system, a central station, a fire alarm station, if you're a sprinklered building. Those things are all consideration into helping minimize the cost of insuring a property. In that case. So does that answer your question, Valerie?
Yes, that does answer my question. And I appreciate that. It brings a couple of thoughts to mind, such as, is there any preparation or work that a maternity home should do or know of before actually contacting their insurance company? Examples of this, I'm thinking about, maybe different agencies that they need to be aware of. You mentioned an alarm system. Another way of saying that might be, what kind of questions are the insurance companies going to ask of these homes?
Well, they're going to ask, the upkeep of the building. If you've got an older building, they're going to want to know if there's been updates to the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC systems. It's very hard to insure older buildings now that have not had updates to the roof, because you're not insuring them. You're just sort of giving, it's because we're not, insurance companies are not in the business of insuring wear and tear, just something that's going to happen, because a roof went bad, it's 30, 40 years old, and it's gonna leak here in a minute. So making sure that all those different things are in place, the security that you have on your residence, the vetting process that you have for your residents. And that's not only an insurance thing, that's also, making sure that you can, you protect your organization from any type of liability. And when you set a plan, that's again, we talked about you're excited, you're about getting and it's frantic trying to get everything together for getting a roof over your clients' heads, and that's your primary goal. But you want to have a plan in place before you have a loss or before something happens in that case, because you don't want to try to come up with that plan while you're going through the process. And I know in my experience, a lot of organizations, they don't have that plan and process before, and then they have to try to figure it out when they're at a crisis point. So it's very, very important to take a look at what's your business continuation plan, for the residential facility.
Any suggestions about what homes should be considering when they're making that plan?
Well, again, you should have, security measures. You should say, okay, if a tornado came through today and we lost our facility and luckily in this loss that happened, I was just telling you about, none of the residents got, hurt or injured. Well, do you have, if somebody's injured of a tornado or fire, do you have a plan for that to get people there? Do you have a plan for, do you have electricians that you deal with, or, mitigation contractors? Those would be in place so that you just go to this list and you're going through what you need to do rather than trying to create that list while it's happening. All kinds of things as far as, where if you lose your building, what are you going to do with your residents while we're rebuilding the building? And unfortunately, if you have a loss today, it's probably going to take about 6 to 9 months for us to replace that building. So what are you going to do with your residents for 6 to 9 months? Where are you going to come up with the funding? Do you have a GoFundMe page that you can access really quickly to get those funds so that you have the resources available to relocate your residents? So those are all the things that I would consider in a business continuation plan that you should have. So again, so you're just going through and checkpointing and you're marking off the things rather than what do we do? And I can tell you that I've dealt with organizations that have both, that have defined plans and then have no plan at all. And the ones that have the defined plans are the ones that, get through and, that survive a major loss, because most organizations will not survive a major loss, not because the insurance didn't cover it, just because they didn't have a plan in place to get them through until they're back in business.
Got it. I appreciate that. We talked a little bit beforehand before doing the show, and you kind of jogged my memory of a few things that came to mind. And what I was really thinking about is thinking about insurance from the perspective of the insurer. So often I'm talking to the home. So my mindset is thinking, of course, all things through the lens of the maternity home. But I started thinking about what you touched on earlier, that vetting process, and thinking about that vetting process of the insurance company, of the organization. What are some of the considerations that an insurance company will take into account whenever considering insuring a maternity home?
Well, again, they look at basic things for property insurance, what we discussed before, that you're updating everything, that you've got a security plan, that you're making sure that there's inspections of the rooms, that you don't have, for lack of a better word, a pig pen in one of these bedrooms that's just a fire hazard waiting to happen. that you've got all these different, like I said, the different things as far as the physical characteristics. But, when I'm talking about the vetting plan, I'm talking about, things such as like, what you expect, having a defined plan with your residents before they come in. What do you expect of your residents and what can they expect from you? Again, that would be, letting them know that, hey, we expect you to go to church. We expect you to be a part of our daily devotions, or, we expect, we're going to be praying for you, and we hope that, pray. And, the clients might not be used to that, but you need to make sure what I sort of did an interview on one of my clients, and what they said, is very, very important, is that, your residential facility is not a shelter, it's a program, and that these people need to, follow the program that you've laid out for them and what you expect for them. So those defined statements of what you are, that you're a faith-based organization, and this is what we expect of you, and we will do everything for you. But and then what are you going to do if they say, well, I'm not, I'm not into this, and you want to love on them and everything like that, but they're not following the rules. So you need to make a decision of how you're going to handle that. Maybe a toxic individual that's affecting the whole residential facility. So again, that's a vetting process that's outside of insurance.
All right. I appreciate it, Kirk. Kirk, anything that we maybe missed or didn't touch on, or anything that you would want to add in talking to our maternity homes about all things insurance for their organization?
Well, we talked about some rules and procedures about, because there's a different, I'm assuming that, for each state, there's a difference of if you have a resident, just a resident, or if you have a resident with minor, I always say, make sure you're abiding by your state regulations on how those are. Are you going to have employees, or are you going to have, volunteers that are the house moms or what have you? If they're employees, do you have workers' compensation in place for those people? So again, that would be my recommendation, to anybody that's opening those.
All right. I appreciate it. Can you point our listeners to a way that they can connect with you, or maybe connect with someone in your agency to learn more about potentially insuring their organization?
Yeah. My name is Kirk Thomas, and I work for Johnson-Witkemper Insurance. We're out of Columbus, Indiana. And I'm pretty much the person that handles all the pregnancy care centers, nonprofits, maternity homes with our agency. So you'd contact me. I can be reached at 812-372-7829 is our office number, or my cell phone is 812-341-7971. Or you can reach me at Kirk, K-I-R-K, at JW and then insurance spelled out.com. So that's Kirk at jwinsurance.com. We, at least, we can give you some advice as to, what you're going to go through, or, as far as the insurance, and try to find a carrier that's competitive, but also offers the coverages that you need to protect those physical and, people assets.
Perfect. We appreciate it, Kirk. I expect to be sending people your way, as this has become at least a weekly conversation on our end of things with our maternity home. So we certainly appreciate it, and thank you for your time. I so appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts and info. I learned some things myself today. So,
again, Valerie, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, Christine, and Heartbeat International. It's such a great organization. you've got definitely got a fan with our agency about doing so keep up the good work, and hopefully we can help you in your mission of doing what you do.
All right. Well, Valerie and Kirk, thank you so much for your time and shedding a little bit of light on insurance for maternity homes. I'm sure you've answered a lot of questions for our listeners. And, if you're listening to this and this was helpful for you, I would encourage you to send this to a friend who's in ministry and maybe has some of these same questions, and we can help each other out with those. And of course, subscribe to the Pregnancy Help podcast. And that's a way for you to continue to get these updates, and we'll keep you looped in on all things affecting the work of the Pregnancy Help movement. So with that, we wish everyone a great rest of your day. And thanks for listening to this episode of the Pregnancy Help podcast.